Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one drink that we rule them all. Hope you'd remember your towels. Get your Ulu feathers and your needler guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword plus one. Usually when still it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Guy.
Hi, I'm Troy.
And this is Geek Tank.
Your transporter-size accident-size podcast.
Today we are going to be doing a little bit of a show about Trek, Tropes, and Videotape. And we had with us two guests today. We've got Joan and Brent. Thank you for joining us today.
No problem.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
So we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of things. We were kind of doing what kind of show are we going to do today? And we were like, we don't know. So we're kind of playing a little bit by ear, but not really. Wanted to talk. One of the things I wanted to talk about was I had been seeing I of course troll Reddit all the time. And in one of the subreddits that I was in, they were talking about tropes, sci-fi tropes that they absolutely hate. And I was thinking, this could be a fun one to do. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Troy wanted to talk about another aspect of fandom. So we're going to do that too. So we figure we'll just mix them together in some hodgepodge mashed potatoes sort of thing.
Yep. And we won't talk about videotapes. That's just a clever title making reference to a movie that if you get it, you get it. And if you don't, you don't.
So I used to rewind videotapes by putting a pencil in that little hole
and then spinning it around,
the thing up, and then spinning the thing around there.
You'd have to use one of those giant comical sized pencils.
Yeah, but I had one that had it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
It had a good eraser. Yeah. Good eraser for that.
I ruined so many 8-track tapes that way.
Oh, I didn't get 8-track. I saw my Walkman.
Oh, okay, cool.
I have my
do you rewind your records before you put them back?
No, I have some records though.
Okay.
I had to rewind all my CDs before I returned, or like the DVDs had to be rewind before you return them to Blockbuster.
That's why Blu-rays are better.
Not
right.
That's why streaming is so much better.
Mm-hmm. Right, because I only have to rewind that one once a week, so we're good.
Yeah.
So okay.
So what's this Reddit trope stuff you talk about?
Okay, so one of the things that I find fascinating is I'm on r/sci-fi writing, which is, for people who write sci-fi. I know you might be shocked I write sci-fi. So one of the things they had posted in there, was this thread, was what are the tropes in sci-fi that you hate the most? And so it's great as a writer because I'm like, ooh, yeah, that is a trope. Maybe I'll make sure I edit that down a little in my story. But
have you gone back through Tamerlane and seen if you had any of those tropes?
Actually, strangely enough, so we could also talk about the Bechdel test, which I think is also another thing that's funny because if you talk about tropes, you usually want to talk about the Bechdel test. Some of them are in there, but a lot of these tropes are Star Trek related. So I fall for them because I made a Star Trek comic. Right.
I love Star Trek.
So, for example, it was saying warrior cultures and blood crazy soldiers. Yes, I know they exist in real life, but I'm kind of tired of every new universe having their own Klingons and insatiable warmongers. Right? Seems like every new sci-fi has to have the warrior race, whatever it is.
Right.
So one of the other things they were saying was strange alien creatures that are immune to bullets. So like the bullets can kill an elephant, and they can kill a 50 caliber round can go through an engine block, but somehow that little gray alien right over there is completely into it.
Indestructible.
Right?
Indestructible.
Do they give examples of the movies that they're pulling these tropes from, or TV shows?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, because I just screen capped the entire thing.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I didn't want to. I wanted to kind of catch the. If you screen cap it, then you end up with all of the answers or all of the responses. So it's like, but like intentionally killing soldiers during training, like Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers,
Brent and I had brought that up, But the guy had said, you just showed everyone you've just given a gun to that they can't trust their leaders. That's fair. Spaceships clearly being set up as an ambush, and then they just do a big battle scene. They were ambushed. It's like
You're ready.
it's like they should just be blown up, but then they aren't. We can't destroy the planet killer in any other way other than the obvious weakness that they were just too lazy to patch. This would
Star
be
Wars.
Death Star, yeah.
Which I thought they, spoiler alerts, I thought they interestingly retconned with Rogue.
I did too. I love the way Rogue One retconned that.
Well, also they fixed that in the Family Guy Blue Harvest too.
Well, yeah. That's fair too. And another one they were saying was spaceships with engines so powerful and generating so much energy that you can literally see them halfway across the universe, but they just pop into existence and surprise everybody.
They
I'm a sucker
were,
for spaceships, though. Like, I would be okay with that, honestly.
they just come. They use the sun. They fly with the sun behind them, so that way you can't see that.
Right.
Oh,
exactly.
That old trick, yeah.
Here's one that I know that I have a number of friends who have this problem. General poor understanding of military culture. The traditional big, dumb, strong dudes dominating the military. Inflexible, rule-oriented, emotionalist generals that focus on tactics only, rather than strategy. Command climates that withhold all decision-making to the highest echelons. A complete lack of delegation of authority and responsibility to the men on the ground. It's like I see Brent nodding. I've got a number of military buddies who all have that same problem. It's like, really? So they just didn't want to like give the captain on the ground any authority? Gotcha. Because that never happens. Right.
I got a few that I pulled up, which one at the top of the list is the one that we're guilty of in the short film we made, Oxygen Leak.
Right.
Yeah.
So and
It's
they,
highly flammable.
yeah, Total Recall, Gravity, and Interstellar are the three that they list as examples of where oxygen leaks were the cause of trauma and urgency.
Yep.
Man, time travel as a trope. I don't know if that's like its own genre in itself. I don't know if I'd consider that a trope.
Well, the Trekkies tend to get kind of bent out of shape about that at some point, because it does seem to be the well that the writers in Star Trek like to go back to a lot. Well, I don't know what we should come up with today. So I know we'll bring everybody back to 2024. Yeah, not today. 2024. That'll allow us to stick all of our main characters in the middle of Los Angeles and make them look uncomfortable.
So, recently, one of my kiddos has decided to binge watch all the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, and rewatching them with my oldest kid, he started pointing out all of these. It's like, with this time travel thing, wouldn't this have messed this up as well? And I'm like, shh, it's a comic book. Because his spoiler alerts for anyone who hasn't watched Endgame and such, but his point was like having Steve Rogers choose to stay would have completely messed up the whole concept of Peggy Carter, because she might not have been as inspired to live the life she did had she had him in her life.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what happens when he runs into himself, since he's still at that point? So
Yep.
Time travel is a can of worms that I rarely see handled well.
So shout out real quick to Jared and Jerry, who are both in the motor pool. And yes, we have promoted Brent and Joan from motor pool to actually here on screen. So beware, you may be promoted as well.
They're recruiting people.
Yes.
We may draft you whenever we're like, hey, we got something to talk about.
This was spawned out of a Firehouse Subs sandwich meeting that we had.
It was an awesome sub sandwich, though. I gotta admit.
Yeah,
Firehouse Subs was pretty good.
I
think I remember Jerry. I've seen him before, but like long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm not very consistent with watching, but I always have a great experience.
What are you doing here? Fired.
I'll be better now. I was doing school. My finals were Saturday, so I have a lot more free time now.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah,
nice.
I had to prioritize school.
Yeah, one of our old Geek Tank crew members, M, fell out off the face of the earth because of school.
Right. But it's
So,
Yeah, we lost her. It's a shame.
she'll be back
Forever?
someday.
She was well, we lost her to, well, I don't know. She's somewhere at a school somewhere. I know we left her somewhere, but I hope we gave her enough food. Anyway, so yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Jerry.
Happy birthday, Jerry. And in Houston, no less. I was just there.
You made it. You made it.
But you made it here. That's the important part.
Mhm.
Okay, so one of the other things that they've got here is the lack of automation, but no real reason given for why it's missing. So building massive planet-destroying super weapons when a few tens of thousand nukes or giant railguns would render a planetary civilization absolutely dead. Another one
Or
is
maybe a can of Coke full of COVID.
right? Yeah, that's probably true too. FTL speeds being whatever is convenient for the plot with no regard for ramifications of speed or travel communication on governing or economics. Creating an army of clearly superior beings to serve as soldiers who, for some reason, follow the orders given by clearly inferior beings who are able to beat them, all because of plot.
Brainwashing.
Right? Right?
I like that one.
Invading-
Yeah, that's a good one. I think these are all really well written.
Yeah.
So
Like
the one
I do.
that I remember a guy and I talked about before outside of the show, that it's one of those, it's like, does this trope exist because it has to exist because people just wouldn't accept it in their minds any other way, is having ships in space meet each other orientated the same way,
Right?
Mm-hmm.
as though there's gravity in there. Yeah, because like exactly like that. It's like that's how you always see it in movies. And so the question was, is if you had them, meet in any other way, would people just think it looks too weird and not accept it?
Right. It just like makes it easier to like process
Mhm.
in the story.
Well,
And you also get into the spaceship aspect too. Like a lot of people are making the argument, look at the ISS where it's not really up, down, and that's what a lot of people are actually expecting spaceships to be too. There's no up or down for it, really.
Yeah,
it really isn't. But
and now that I think about it, even board cubes are flat.
right. But one of the things that's interesting is there's a signal now to it, right? Because Star Trek now will take their spaceships and canter them sideways or at a weird angle to indicate that they're out of power or lost of control. And so now you have a symbol, so you can't actually run back over it, because if you do, you are signaling to your viewers that the ship is out of control.
This means you could trick an enemy by just
drifting
at a different angle.
Yeah, like in the car, you just take your foot off the pedal. It's like
that, or with Star Trek, as you see it fly and it's making a sharp turn, it actually leans into it too.
Right. Right.
That's a good point. I'm gonna be like more analytical of like ship scenes, and I like it.
Right.
I'm learning.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, even being Trekkies, we don't always see all the things until somebody points it out and you're like, oh, wait a minute. And then you can't like unsee it and you start watching it. Like the old statement about like Jonathan Frakes, who played Riker. He had a back injury, and his back was hurt before he was ever on Star Trek, and because of that, his spine is fused, so he can't sit down easily. It's not easy to sit down. So what he does is he made the Riker maneuver, where he puts his leg over the back of the chair to sit down.
It's beloved.
You're right, and everybody loves it, and everybody just accepts that that's the way that Riker is he puts a leg over a chair, and that's
right.
the
He's a
nature.
tall guy too.
He really is, but nobody thinks twice about it. And then you hear the story about him having a back injury and he can't move as well, and you're like, oh. And then from that point forward, every time you see it, it's not like, oh, isn't that cute? It's more like, ooh, that must hurt. It like changes the way you view those scenes now.
Especially because every scene he had to do it 10 to 30 times.
Because he had to go in there and do that over and over and over.
He's so suave about it.
Right. So Jerry's asking if why is it people don't go up or down to avoid things? We can't go past them, sir. They're in the way. You mean we can't just do this? No, sir. That's against the law.
This was one of my gazillion complaints I had about Phantom Menace of like, there's a blockade and it's like just a line of ships.
A line of ships sitting
like,
there.
Yeah.
And nobody could just fly over it.
There's more planet there than that. So.
Right? Well, and that brings some of the other ones that were here. Space battles happening at close range. I mean, honestly, the speeds of which we travel in space are just astronomical relative to the size of the spacecraft. Like, even if you were just to talk about Apollo and the LEM, which we launched towards the moon, was going something close to about 18,000 miles an hour. That's really fast. So if it were to pass you, you wouldn't see it because it would pass you at about 4 kilometers a second. So in 1 second, it would have passed you. So, and impulse speed is supposed to be half the speed of light, right? That's 150,000 miles per second. So you get to that point and you're like, well, okay. So, Star Trek 2, where you've got as David Gerrold once said, in Star Trek 2, where you have the Reliant and the Enterprise marching toward each other like arthritic dinosaurs, and it's like, they're like, and they're at half impulse.
Isn't the Lois McMaster's Bajol? I'm pronouncing her name wrong.
Yeah.
Bajol. Her stories from, don't they have where they're shooting missiles like really far away? So you have more naval.
It's the same thing with David Weber.
David Weber as well. So
David
you get
Weber
more realistic
closes
space
to-
combat.
I love David Weber's, him and his X-ray pumped, laser pumped X-ray bombs going off and things like that. I mean, it's like, wow.
Those have never been turned into a show or a movie, have they?
No. Hey, Kyle. Welcome to the show.
So I don't know if Joan and Brent, if you're familiar with that series, the Lewis McMaster Bajol series.
No.
Okay.
Not that particular one, but it almost sounds like The Expanse with how they do their shooting and combat situations too.
Yeah. Well, The Expanse is what we call sort of a realistic sci-fi. They're trying to be more realistic. You have to, they're on the float. They accelerate and then decelerate, things like that. So, that's kind of a thing. But the other thing is that, like, Weber is known for bringing in realistic-esque space battles because the ships are traveling at these phenomenal speeds. They don't see each other. The ships are never so I think one of the reasons we never see these in a movie format or a television format probably has something to do with the fact that real space battles would be, here's the ship, then it launches a whole bunch of missiles, the ship just keeps coasting along, then the characters talk for like 6 hours.
It's kind of like White Chess and Magic the Gathering having become like top sellers for television viewing.
Right. It would kind of be difficult. because of course that's the way it works. Is they'll launch all their missiles, the missiles start heading in, then the characters have like 2 or 3 scenes, and then the bad guys suddenly get all these missiles to suddenly hit them, and either they blow up or they don't. It's like it happens sort of at these exchanges that are much more like the battleships, or the old ships of the line, who would fire at each other broadsides, sort of thing, and you did see what's left over after that. So,
well, we've definitely gone over a few. I think we should go now and ask. Let's ask Joan. Can you think off the top of your head some tropes that bother you?
Okay, well, I want to be like specific. I wanted to say hi to Kyle. Kyle's cool.
Hi, Kyle.
Yeah, he's into like comic books, like Batman stuff.
Comic books are cool.
Yeah, well, there's sci-fi comic books too. I have some of the Star Trek ones. Like Hive was really good. But like, okay, so a trope I want to talk about was like when a show attempts to create a character, like a kid-friendly character who's like, I would compare to Neelix. Like, I hate Neelix. Like, I'll skip all his episodes. I hate him so much. And then, like, there's, like, Jar Jar Binks, and then I forgot the one from He-Man. He's awful. His name is...
Orko.
Yeah.
Orca? That's a whale.
I don't know. What am I thinking of? No, I'm thinking about... I forgot.
Are you thinking of Thundercats with Snarf?
Yes! Snarf, that guy. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know how I figured that out.
That was a good one, because I'm talking about whales and stuff. I don't know what I'm doing.
Snarf!
Yeah,
Hi,
but anyway.
Craig.
Like, that character, like, nobody ever likes that character. Like, usually when I watch, I just want to murder Neelix. Like, I'm thinking about ways to do it, and it's like... I love Star Trek so much, but it's like I'll literally skip episodes just because he's in it, or like even just not like liking a character, like you kind of think they're dull or whatever, you don't relate to them, so then you skip like all those episodes. Like I'm not talking anything bad about Will Wheaton, but like the Wesley episodes, I would kind of be like, like
well, Wesley suffers from Mary Sue. Which is a specific trope for Star Trek sci-fi that ultimately blurred out to all the other ones. And this is one of those things. The Mary Sue character comes from the 70s when we had...
I'm sorry, yeah. Kyle, I like Will Wheaton.
Especially as a side note, nobody hates Will Wheaton. We're all major Will Wheaton fans.
Okay, good.
It's the character.
But Wes had a problem early on because he's a Mary Sue. A Mary Sue was a character written in the fan fiction back in the days when we had only fan fiction in Star Trek, because in the 70s all we had was TAS and TOS, the original series and the animated series, and this person was writing these Mary Sue comics, and what it was Ensign Mary Sue, who would beam down with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and only she could save Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And so every episode was always her saving them and rescuing them and falling in love with Kirk, and then having an affair with Spock or whatever. This is like really bizarre stuff. And it became a trope that we all started talking about, the character that had to save the day all the time.
That's cool.
And Will Wheaton's character, unfortunately, Wes Crusher is modeled after Gene Roddenberry. Gene wrote him specifically as a 14-year-old Gene Roddenberry that was idolized, like what Gene really kind of wanted to have always done as a 14-year-old. And so poor Will, he gets stuck in this character who is literally a Mary Sue.
Mm-hmm.
And they toned him down later on. But Gene Roddenberry had control of the scripts through second season. So it was up until third season before the writers started sidelining Roddenberry. So for the first 2 seasons, Wesley was saving the ship every other day.
Right. And he was like this
literal Mary Sue.
He was kind of a Chad, honestly. I don't like Chads. So that's like a trope I don't like is Chad's like, I don't like Superman at all. I think he's ultra super Chad.
Yeah.
The Mary Sue thing also was a.
And I respect comics. Like I respect his comics. I have a few of them. I have when he like returned from the dead. I have all 3 variants. Like I respect him, but I don't like squads.
The Mary Sue thing came from a 1974 fanfic
Mostly.
called a Trekkie's Tale. If anybody wants to look that up more on that.
Thank
But
you.
yeah, it's the. I remember.
I read it in the 80s, and I was like, okay.
Yeah.
How do I find that? How do you find that? Mary Sue?
No, so you could search Mary Sue, or you could search Star Trek fanfic, A Trekkie's Tale. Sorry, tell, not tail, but tell. But I remember the Next Gen was one of those. I was at the right age where it was what we called viewing event, because it would come out once a week, and everybody would get together at one person's house and we'd watch it together.
Yep.
And I remember Wesley Crusher's character severely upsetting lots of people, and one of my brother's jokes was that like Wesley Crusher would somehow figure out how to maximize the ship's ability to function without 50% of its crew and put half the crew out of a job.
Yeah.
So, but it's it sucked for Will Wheaton because he was a teenager and he was having to get all of the backlash to the character, and it wasn't his fault. He didn't write
It wasn't his fault at all.
I hate that trope, or what? I guess that's not a trope, is it? Is it?
No, Mary Sue is a trope.
Okay, so
The character that can save the day all the time.
Yeah, it's got a larger name in a function in writing called a Deus Ex Machina, and it means God saving the day.
I gotta write
And
all this.
Just go back and watch the show again.
I'm learning. Oh, yeah. Okay.
The Deus Ex Machina is a design. There's a good question Craig's putting out there. Is Luke Skywalker a Mary Sue? And to some degree, one can argue that both Luke Skywalker and Rey are both Mary Sues to a degree. And part of though, the structure of a Mary Sue is that the Mary Sue never fails.
If Luke was a Mary Sue, then Leia would not have had to save them in the rescue.
Right. That's where it comes down to it, is if another character has to save them, it wipes out their Mary Sue-ness. And so we
That's the cure.
Jerry's gonna quiz you later, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot.
But the Deus Ex Machina is it's usually something that you feel when you're reading a story and you're like, wait a minute.
Okay, yeah.
And it's that feeling that's, like where we've got the big climactic battle between the Snurgleblats and the Bingo Boppers, and they're just finally, we've spent the entire book building up to this huge battle, and then Bob comes in and sets off a bomb, and the war's over. And you're like, who's Bob? And where did he come from? And what's going on? And then everybody hails Bob as the savior of everything, and you're like, yeah, but who's Bob and where did he come from? You're still like, that's a Deus Ex Machina.
An area where I see this happen that GMs that run role-playing games need to be careful of is having a non-player character do too much to help out the player characters and take away their agency of affecting the story. Or if you have a GM, like in our case, we have a shared GM universe game where if I had my character that I play show up while I'm running the game and have my character do something really cool and awesome, because I'm then stripping that ability or that opportunity away from the players. So you don't want to allow those characters to become Mary Sues or Deus Ex Machinas.
Right. It's interesting. You just mentioned agency, and I think about this now in sort of, if you're a writer, in a lot of ways, that's something that writers do, is they fail to give their own characters agency. We always think of characters as an extension.
Your computer's seizing up there.
Okay, I didn't know it was mine.
No, guy's computer's taking away his agency.
My computer's taking away my agency.
Yeah.
You did a funny face. That was a good one.
His whole face is funny.
No.
While he tries to
You
come
can
back
tell,
on the
you could tell though, because my fan will freeze or it won't. One of the two.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that.
Tell your kid to stop playing Fortnite.
Right? What's going on? So, Am I getting any better, or am I still screwed up?
On and off.
Body.
I don't know. You know what we should do is this is a good time
To
for
do
us
an ad.
To do
Yes.
an ad.
Ooh.
So Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, Shiny Garden, and
Your mom.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. While you're freezing, I will explain what the Bechtel test is, and then I will throw it back over to you, and hopefully you won't be frozen anymore. So you brought up the Bechtel test, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with. Also, it's sometimes called the Mo movie measure or the Bechtel rule, and it's a test which names the following three criteria. Does your story? It has to have at least two women in it who talk to each other about something besides men. So the test was popularized by Alison Bechtel's comic, the name of which this thing isn't putting on here for some reason. Looks like it's called The Strip from 1985.
Yes.
So
the Bechdel test has an extension to it too. There are other pieces to it because they kind of modified it.
Yeah, that's the primary part.
In the 80s, it's actually astonishing going back to the 70s and 80s and watching any movie as to whether you have two women who talk to each other about something other than men. And it's amazing how few movies pass that test. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea is it turns women into nothing more than a plot device to further a love interest for the main lead male. Right? Which is one of the things that's interesting is that Star Trek passes the Bechdel test in 1967 because Uhura does talk to other women like Nurse Chapel and to various other characters all the time, and she never talks about men.
What a lady.
And so, so like passes the Bechdel test, and it's one of those things where people are like, why is Star Trek so forward thinking and everything like that? And it's because women were represented really badly. Mm-hmm. And actually have been even recently. I've seen movies in the 2000s and the 2010s that don't pass the Bechdel test. And I find that shocking. I'm like,
there's a movie that I can't recommend anyone watch called Death Race 2050. But I watch bad movies all the time. And then there's one scene in it that made the movie for me, and that's the main female character and a secondary female character are at a bar talking to each other about something other than men, and the name of the bar is Bechtel's Bar.
So, I want a t-shirt for that.
Yeah,
right. Well, and that's the thing is like you were asking, I was like, at least Tamerlan absolutely passed the Bechdel test, and certainly Bellatrix Rising passes the Bechdel test. Mm-hmm. But there are extensions to it. There's a further part of it that as time has gone on, which was, are the women central to the plot, or are they simply someone's love interest, is another key piece to the Bechdel plot or Bechdel test. For example, Uhura, as a character, is not anyone's love interest. She is the communications officer. She's central to a plot. She's no longer just considered someone's love interest. So Star Wars also manages to sometimes pass the Bechdel test, but only in the battle scenes. So it doesn't pass it any other time because Leia, though, like in the first Star Wars movie, Leia is nothing more than effectively a love interest. She doesn't talk to any other female characters, and she doesn't really talk to the male characters about anything short of really a lot of those things, except in like two key scenes. Then it makes Star Wars pass it. But it's just like most of the time she's the love interest, which is what makes things kind of weird when she kisses her brother.
That wasn't written yet.
Yeah, that doesn't happen until she doesn't kiss him, though, I think, until the second movie, right?
Nope, first one.
It's the first one.
And by the way, Jerry,
right. I remember it's on the Falcon.
Yep.
Jerry, real quick, your mom has sent the payment and we've cashed it. It's all right. You're good. So the other thing that's like critical is I was just watching Aliens, And
I love Alien.
amazing, Alien and Aliens passed the Bechdel test like with flying colors, because Ripley talks to Vasquez talks to who is she, the pilot? I
don't
lost her
think they
name.
really named her.
They did.
Yeah.
Her name is. They talk about her during the drop sequence. But she's. I'll remember it in a second, because I
know you're talking about. I'm sure people know who you're talking
She's
about.
one of my favorite. They're all that's one of my favorite movies.
Mhm.
But the key is that instinctually, James Cameron understands the Bechdel test, and all of his movies pass the Bechdel test. So all the way back, even Terminator passes the Bechdel test.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so you can tell which writers tend to be more equitarian, like equal rights on everybody, and which ones still think sort of in that 50s, we have to have the man save the woman and be the hero and shoot lasers and stuff. And so it's interesting. The Bechdel test is great. I love that one.
It looks like it had to evolve too, because the changes was because people started just trying to meet the criteria, and it's like oh, we have this person talk to this person, we're good.
Right.
Check it. Don't need to write any more scenes in
box.
Yeah.
Which with Death Race, it's actually like navel gazing and very meta, and I love it because of its it's like, we understand that by the nature of the movie that we are making, we will never pass the Bechdel test because of the way that this movie is structured. Therefore, we will pass the Bechdel test with a check mark.
Yeah.
I actually really respect that Star Wars was in battle. Like, I think that's cool.
Jerry, to answer your question, it's not intentional. Like I said, I think he understands it instinctually, because the Bechdel test actually came out after almost 2 or 3 of his movies had been out, and he was just passing them.
He was just
nature.
like naturally. I had those values.
And some movies, it's not fair to apply the Bechdel test. A great example is Steven Spielberg's first real movie was a movie called Duel with Dennis Quaid. It has literally one character. The entire movie is this one character. So you can't blame it for not passing the Bechdel test. It has one character. So there's no... And the only other outside character is when he calls his wife, which makes total sense because it's his wife. So you can't really knock the movie for saying, well, that's a love interest. He's calling his wife. It's a middle-aged man calling his wife. And he's not even talking about like their relationship. He's talking about how he's being chased by a semi, So
now, for those who haven't seen the movie, this was back before cell phones existed.
Yeah,
And
it was 1971.
Yep. And so the main character, if I remember correctly, accidentally cuts off a semi, and then for the rest of the film, the semi is like chasing him on these deserted highways, trying to run him off the road, and he's trying to avoid it. And it sounds like there's not a lot there to work with, but it's Spielberg. He found a way to make it work.
It is a phenomenally compelling movie. It's one of my favorites. I absolutely love it. Highlights a 1970 Dodge Dart really well. A horrible little car, but it's still a lot of fun. And Spielberg does a phenomenal job of making a rig terrifying. It's like it's an hour and a half full of road rage, and it's the most amazing movie. And it cost him like $4,000 in a sandwich or something to make, because all he needed was a rig and a Dodge Dart. So that's all he needed. And so most of his money went to the actor. And in fact, I think part of that movie was made on a dare to try to do it as cheaply as possible. Come up with a concept that was as cheap as possible.
It's like genius in its own right. Like, it's
It really
minimalistic.
is.
Yeah, I can respect that. I'm gonna have some homework to do after the show.
Was that the one that I can't remember if that was the one? I remember. I think it was Spielberg. First film he made, he like a lot of times he was sneaking onto the set and like pretended he belonged there, and therefore people wouldn't question him,
Ooh,
but
Right.
he didn't belong there.
Right?
I love that
So-
kind of stuff. It's like pranking
Yes,
incognito.
that's a good point. But yeah, Goonies is a love interest, and there are 2 girls in Goonies. And the question is, I can't remember well enough whether the 2 girls talk about something other than boys.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, then
Yeah,
it'll
there's
pass. And Andy has a purpose in the plot other than being the cute girl.
yeah.
Boy, I had a crush on her when I was a kid too.
So there's a spin-off test that the Bechdel test inspired called the Mako Mori test, formulated by Tumblr user, it looks like Chala, and named after the only significant female character in Pacific Rim.
Right.
And it asks whether a female character has a narrative arc that is not about supporting a man's story. The comic book writer Kelly Sue DeConnick proposed a sexy lamp test. If you can replace your female character with a sexy lamp and the story still basically works, you need to work on another draft of the story. Yeah. So sexy lamp test your story.
I like the sexy lamp.
Yeah. The leg. Yeah.
Yep.
It's
This is not to be confused
so
with
absurd.
Joan. Joan has an awesome lamp, but I
Oh,
don't know
yeah,
if
that's
Jones.
old.
I don't know if the Jones lamp could be called a sexy lamp. So there's that. But I am adoring that lamp. So
It's
there's that.
antique.
It's
It
yeah,
has
it
like
looks
those
awesome.
fake candles in there. It's cool.
a major award.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just like that. I like the lamp. It's a cool lamp.
I like old things. It's like it's intricate. I wish you could see the shade. The shade has like fancy design.
Right. That's cool.
Like not paisley, but something like that.
Jerry, I feel you, bro. I feel you. I feel like that happens to me a lot where I could be replaced by a lamp.
Oh,
I think
you
about
can't
the
be
place-
replaced
Where
by
a guy
a
would
lamp.
be
Doesn't have
replaced by
a
a lamp.
lamp. Doesn't have a circulatory system.
in some cases, a sexy lamp would be an improvement.
That's true. If we had a sexy lamp over here on this, that your co-host is a sexy lamp. Especially when we have like internet problems and I'm stuck here going,
Yeah.
Anyway.
I couldn't handle that. That was a good one. I like
Yep.
like
Craig's
childish,
saying that
like,
your lamp is too sexy for him.
I see.
If your lamp starts singing, I'm too sexy for this
Ooh.
couch. Too sexy for this couch.
Then you need to run because it's haunted. So
Right.
we did.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
getting out of
we haven't-
here. I'm
we haven't
not-
gotten to Brent
no,
yet. We covered some of Jones.
Yeah, Brent, what
tropes.
you got?
Oh, well, as far as sci-fi tropes, bad robots. That's the thing that always bugs me the most.
I
Oh,
love
yeah.
robots.
Or the tech talk, too. Because as guy knows, I'm in IT and that tech or the hackers speak. And it's like, I hate
Technobabble.
that stuff.
I sent Guy a Technobabble random list generator, where it's like you roll like 4d6s and you put all of the answers together.
I
Ooh.
love that one. I have a Parts Unknown catalog out of Mechdon 2, which I use all the time, which does that. When your mecha breaks down, you just roll 3d10 and you read what broke on your mecha. And it's exactly the same thing. But I was actually thinking about that. I was watching Discovery a while back, and Captain Pike turns around and starts talking about something about a SQL database. And I'm like, you mean 250 years from now we're still using SQL calls? You know, I'm like,
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. It's a great system. I hate it, but I wouldn't doubt it.
I don't know, man. Next time you're in SQL, just write drop table and see what happens. So
So Craig on our Mulder poll brought up something that I had on my list over here, but I haven't said it yet. Talking about sound in space,
Oh, yeah.
which had started way back when the first sci-fis were made, and it's probably one of those things where they thought it would just be too boring to have no sound, and we didn't get to see that really in good play until Firefly came along.
I was going to say, Firefly was the one where they actually did that really cool. I was just recently watching Serenity,
Mhm.
and I thought
love-
it's very interesting because they play this scene where you see Serenity, and then all of a sudden she starts getting into the atmosphere, and it does that it does that very well. It illustrates it. It's, you know, the music, and then and the noise starts rolling in all of a sudden as the flames start going by. And it was like, huh, you guys were like totally silent until the Serenity hit the atmosphere. And then when she did, she started roaring with noise, you know, and I thought that was really cool and just really neatly done.
Once again, to refer back to our little short film we made, our exterior shot of the ship when it malfunctions, we had no sound for it.
Yeah, but making that MOS was seriously dramatic too.
Yeah,
we used that. We played that for drama.
So we did a real short film for a film contest, and the rules in the contest was the only editing you were allowed to do was whatever you could do in camera, meaning you have to rewind and fast forward if you want to do any kind of cutting out of order, and sound editing. And we made an actual practical spaceship. It was actually an upside down back end of a helicopter, right? That we had cut off and glued little bits to make it look like a space shuttle. And we rigged up fiber optics to it for lighting because we had it submerged in a fish tank and upside down.
Camera upside down,
so
it looked right side up.
So when the hatch blew, the hatch went straight up, which was actually straight down because it was in water. And we had it in water because then we had glitter come out because our NASA genius guy said that when oxygen sprays out of a ship, it crystallizes and freezes
instantly. So we just put glitter into it, and when the hatch blew, it just sat there and then all this glitter came out and it looked awesome. But since we had it turned upside down, the glitter went up instead of down. And man, after the movie was over, everybody was like, how did you do that? It was like a practical effect. It looked really good.
Yeah, it's like we couldn't use special effects, so we had to go back to the old school and use models.
Yeah, and so it was really neat. We couldn't use CGI, which was a lot of fun. That was still, I hope you still have that model somewhere.
I do.
Okay, good.
Aww.
That's one of my favorite models, and I'm glad you have it. That should be hanging on the wall or something.
It's in a sock drawer.
Right? It's in a sock drawer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's that.
Precious.
Yes.
So, yeah, Jerry, you said that you always thought Serenity's soundtrack or lack thereof was a metaphor that Mal and the crew are more at peace in space than on any planet. You know what? That's a cool read. That is a cool read, I've got to say. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's neat. So, yeah. But I still think that that's cool, and they still don't do that. Now, one thing I was thinking of when we were talking about this is some of these tropes are signatory now. For example, Star Trek would seem weird if they suddenly decided in the next Star Trek show that there was no sound in space. Mm-hmm. It would seem out of place.
Yeah, because the engines have a signature sound.
All the as Boimler and Mariner are constantly reminding us of.
I actually want to talk more about what Brent said about evil robots.
Bad robots.
Bad robots.
Bad robots.
And not J.J. Abrams' production crew. Bad robots.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, Bad Robots.
Okay.
Not the J.J. Abrams one.
No, not those guys. But no. But yeah, HAL from 2001 would probably be one of the first, right?
Alien, original Alien movie with the android.
Ash.
Yeah, Ash.
Which was redeemed by Bishop in Aliens.
I love those guys.
I had a long talk with a buddy of mine in Japan, and we were discussing sort of the differences between Japanese culture, and American culture. And he said, we have automated everything, and nobody seems to mind. But America seems to be freaked out about anything automated. And he said, I know why that is. And he said, because you guys started out with HAL and the Terminator.
And the Terminator, that's what everybody brings up. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
He said, and then we started out with Astro Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah. So Japan has had a culture from the beginning of their sci-fi where the big robots save the day. The large robots, the automated things, the AIs, the artificial intelligence, they're there to save everybody. Whereas all of our robots kill everybody. And it's interesting that has changed the culture of the two countries. Japanese culture just accepts everything as automated. and everything
attitudes.
automated.
Yeah.
It's like really cool. But here it's like nope.
Well, we couldn't even have Data. We had to make a bad robot and make his brother.
Right, we had to have lore. That's another trope, though.
Mhm.
There's another
Yeah.
trope.
The evil twin.
The evil
motif.
twin. But he did such a good job, okay?
That's true. There's no question. So Star Trek actually, that's another thing that you have to ask yourself is like, is it fair to say Star Trek is pulling a trope that they invented?
Right, okay, yeah. They're like groundbreaking with it or whatever.
So like in the original series, we had a number of things, although the evil twin is not one of them, but there were a number of tropes that were begun by Star Trek that
he did his dad too, right?
Following.
He did his dad, Noonien Soon.
Yeah, he did.
So does that break it?
Yeah, and that's so.
Doesn't count.
He did his father. He did his. Technically, he's done his father, his brother, his natural physical brother,
his other brother,
then his two android brothers. Because B4 was also.
I love B4. He's cute.
Soong style robot.
He's like a little kid. He like doesn't quite understand.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm sorry,
and then he's done his great grandfather, which
I don't remember. I
which
don't know
did the augments. Remember, pulled the augments out
Oh.
in Enterprise. So, yeah.
I watched the Enterprise. Those are the only Enterprise episodes I really watched. I like Scott Bakula, but it's like there's so much content I can't really, I can't really take it all in.
There's only 840 episodes. I can't imagine why you're having a problem.
Guy who's probably seen them all 10, 12 times.
I'm not. I guess
to
I'm
be
not
fair,
like a completionist.
there are a handful that I've only seen twice, so we're okay.
No, Guy runs circles around me, for sure in Star Trek. I should check it out though, right? Enterprise,
yeah. If you do, give first season and second season, the normal. Beginning Star Trek
buffer time,
and then skip third season.
I think I
go
did
to
first
season.
Okay.
Skip.
Yeah,
third
I think
season.
I did the first.
The Xindi arc is weird, and they were trying to make a 9/11 analogy, and it didn't go.
Oh, really?
And when you watch fourth season, don't watch the last episode. The very last episode. These are the
really?
Voyages.
I'm gonna watch. I
cannot
watch it.
If you do watch it, understand that most of us hate it, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, should I skip it and then watch it later?
Yeah, skip it and watch it later. let Terra Nova be your last episode of Enterprise.
Or just have that experience.
Yeah. Decide in your mind. This was the last episode. The thing I'm watching now is a what if episode,
right.
and not canon.
It's like the dream sequence. How about that trope?
Exactly. It's very much a dream sequence.
It's an epilogue. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's almost as bad as this was all a dream and I just woke up.
Yeah, let's show you some clips from past episodes.
Yeah, season 3.
Riker's gonna lay on a table.
I gave up in season 3 and never got back to it. So I need to go back and watch season 4 so I can get past it. There was a point where I missed a few episodes
Really?
and I missed something very critical. And then all of a sudden a dead character was alive again and I didn't know how because I missed the episode where that happened, apparently.
That's kind of shocking.
So if you do want to watch the last episode of Star Trek or Enterprise, here's what I would recommend you do. Go to 7th season TNG, episode 12. That's the Pegasus. Watch the Pegasus.
I know that one.
Then watch the last episode of Enterprise.
Ooh.
And puts it in context with TNG.
That's a good episode.
In with TNG. Yep, it works perfectly. All is good. It fits. Everything's fine. But
I'm so happy that you gave me this advice.
Because that's what I would recommend is just watch the Pegasus and then put These Are the Voyages in with Pegasus. And that
Does it
works.
have a Neelix character that I'm gonna hate?
Yeah,
sexy
Neelix.
The spot there's Vulcan. Isn't there a Vulcan lady?
There's a Vulcan.
T'Pol.
Yeah, T'Pol.
There's a dog.
T'Pol is irritating in season 1 She gets kind of cool in season 2, especially Carbon Creek. That's a good episode.
She has some sexy night moments, doesn't she?
They clearly got the actress Jolene Blaylock. They obviously got her for her boobs. However, it is good to know that Jolene Blaylock is also a hardcore Trekkie, and she was doing the quoting scenes and episodes on set all the time. So like she was their hardcore Trekkie. So though they did hire her for her boobs, she really was the Trekkie on the set. Every show sort of has a Trekkie on the set. You know, there's the one actor who was a hardcore Trekkie, and that was like Will Wheaton was
I was about to say Will Wheaton was
on
the Trekkie,
TNG.
Speaking
and he knew everything.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, okay, so like speaking of boobs on Star Trek, like I really like respect Jerry Ryan's character.
In 7 of 9.
Because like he saved the show almost single-handedly by putting like sex appeal in the show, but her character had great development, and she's still awesome, man. Like in Picard, I haven't finished it because I'm watching with my dad, but I'm like almost done with it, and she's just like kick ass. Like she's like
right.
So like
we were really aggravated when they brought her on because
I didn't like
really?
it. I was mad. I was like a little kid. I was like young, and I was just like, "What is this?"
Yeah,
my dad's like, "It's okay. It's fine."
Woman in a cat suit.
We called her T of A for a long time, and then she actually became cool, and we were like, I actually was like, I'm actually madder now because I was pretty bent out of shape when they brought in just a girl for boobs, and that was the whole point. But then it made me even madder that she was awesome and her character was really cool.
And I'm like trying to
I can't hate her.
Yeah.
You know?
I actually saw the Star Trek experience exhibit came to like I'm in Michigan, it's the Henry Ford Museum, and it was cool. We got to like crawl through a Jeffrey's tube and stuff, and her outfit was actually there, and it's like molded plastic, like in her hips and stuff like that. So it's like you're oogling like plastic. Like she had armor on. I mean, she's got a great shape and everything, but I just thought that was interesting.
She also couldn't go to the bathroom.
And heels.
It required.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It required Jerry Ryan had to have someone go with her to the bathroom to remove the suit for her, so that she could go to the bathroom. So and it pressed against her bladder, which meant that she just stopped drinking anything because she was afraid she'd have to pee, and then she'd have to go through like a 2-hour undressing, redressing just to pee.
I respect that. I respect that. I didn't know that. And then
she had a rough time.
Deanna Troy, she had like the booby shirt, and people would even like make fun of her. And then they gave her the real outfit, and she looked better in my opinion. It's just like they had to put boobs in Star Trek.
It's interesting. Jerry's talking about Naomi Wildman, who actually the actress Scarlett Palmer's was actually on the show Reba for a long time.
Oh, Reba.
Yeah, and she had a substance abuse problem of some sort that she got through and got to the other side, or I can't remember if it was substance abuse or if it was anorexia or bulimia. She had a real problem. But now she's back hanging out with, I've seen her pictures showing up a couple of times with some of the other Star Trek alum, and I'm wondering whether they're thinking of bringing her back into Picard or something else. I would love to see a Captain Naomi Wildman. I think that'd be really cool. So personally, as a side note to Jerry, who is obviously commenting over here about Seven and Jolene Blaylock's boobs. So it's a thing.
Boobs is a trope, right? What's a trope?
Boobs is always a trope. And it's a
sex
thing.
appeal.
Back to the Bechdel test, though. The Bechdel test, it's funny. They totally brought in Jerry Ryan for her sex appeal. However, instantly in episode 1, she passes the Bechdel test.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you think about it. She talks to Captain Janeway.
I love Janeway. Oh.
Okay, right? Sorry. She talks to Janeway, and they're not talking about a love interest. So instant pass. And in Scorpion 1 and 2, the plot is about the Borg, and she's the Borg liaison. So she actually passes also by not being there to further a male a male's
Centric.
plot. Yeah,
Right.
a male plot. She's not supporting a
Female.
male plot at all.
You're going to get Janeway back in Star Trek Prodigy.
What?
we are.
What?
You did not know this?
No.
Star Trek Prodigy
I've
Kate.
been in all homework.
Okay,
all the
take it
time.
away, Guy.
So Star Trek Prodigy is a show that's coming out on Nickelodeon. It's animated.
So
the
like
story
Lower
is-
Decks?
It's like Lower Decks, but it's CGI, like more like
Oh.
Clone Wars from
Okay.
Star Wars.
Oh, is it like the
um,
art style too?
I'm sorry, what?
Like the art style? Now I gotta look it up.
Yeah, it's similar to the art style. But what they're doing is, it's apparently 4 kids have tripped over a Federation starship, and they're trying to restart it. And she's
Ooh.
the command hologram that shows up to help them restart the starship. So Kate Mulgrew has been cast, and she is recording lines, and she is totally back in the captain's chair. So
Her voice is like silk.
It is.
Like
It's
I like going to
wonderful.
sleep to like Star Trek or like Voyager. It's like my happy place. Like yeah, like you were saying, the engine noises and like even like white noise atmosphere. It's so comforting. I'm excited.
Right.
That's exciting. Thank you for letting me know.
Jerry is mentioning that Bakula is coming back. I haven't heard anything about Bakula. And that doesn't mean that Jerry's wrong. I mean,
Right.
certainly. I've had a couple of months now where I've been kind of
I would love that.
I've been having a couple of rough months, so I haven't been up on everything 100%. I would
Really?
assume that they're bringing Bakula back to either be Admiral Archer or the president of the Federation, which in the books, the novelizations, he became the president of the Federation, the first president of the Federation.
Ooh,
So,
I've only read Next Generation and original series novels, but they're like I love those. I should
yeah,
check out Enterprise. I didn't know they had novels.
you should probably watch Enterprise before you read those novels.
That makes sense.
You'll
Do they
get
all have
lost
novels?
totally.
Do they all have novels? I know
Yeah,
they
The
have
law.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
And there are crossovers too. So we've got a number of novels that are Voyager and Deep Space Nine crossovers, or
Oh.
there was a set called Crossover, which was 4 books. Each one took place in a different era of Star Trek, all the Berman eras of Star Trek, and the original series. And it was, the time widget shows up, and Kirk has to deal with it, and then he thinks he fixes it but doesn't, so Picard has to deal with it. He thinks he fixes it, so Cisco has to deal with it, and it's kind of like that kind of thing. So they managed to get these books where aspects of this end up in different places, but also the books have always had different characters will show up in one of the series that they were running at one point in time. Esri Dax has her own ship called the Aventine, and she somewhere along the line ends up getting 7 of 9 after Voyager returns. So you get like these mixed character stories, which are you get bits and pieces of other characters doing different things. So, and it's interesting. It's very interesting.
And bad news for you, there aren't any ASMR videos by Kate Mulgrew. I looked it up for you. Sorry.
We just put on an episode.
Yeah, there you go. But then you might get Neelix saying something.
So
That really,
I just recently read a story, and I don't know if this will change your opinion on Neelix or not, but the actor Ethan Phillips. By the way, Ethan Phillips and Robert Picardo are best buds, and they hang out all the time. They're both in New York, and they both work off Broadway sometimes, and they'll both go to lunch together all the time, and they're always hanging out. But Ethan Phillips was one time walking on stage 20, which is where Voyager was shot, and he was in full makeup, and he runs into Robin Williams in the hallway, and Robin Williams stops and goes, "It's Neelix," and starts doing going off in Robin Williams Neelix comedy that has Ethan Phillips in stitches, and he's just laughing so hard because he does these great Neelix things. He's talking about cooking strange eggs and things like that, and it's all these jokes. And he goes, I love your character. You're my favorite character. And Ethan's like, I can't
Dang.
believe Robin Williams just said that to me. You know what I mean? It was like,
Robin would like appreciate his humor, I guess. Like, yeah, it does make me look at it in a new light.
yeah, right. Because I mean, you think that Robin Williams would have loved that, and he did love Ethan Phillips. Apparently, that was Neelix was his favorite character. Well, I guess we should say Neelix was his favorite character at the moment. I don't know whether he was really his favorite character,
right?
But he told Ethan Phillips he was his favorite character.
He had a lot of affinity for that character, regardless.
Yeah.
Either way. Yeah, so yes, the Doctor is one of the best too, especially when he's the emergency command hologram.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That was the best scene ever. I laughed so hard.
I don't know if you. Sorry.
I was going to say the best part of that scene was just the pips appearing on his collar.
Right.
Comedically timed. So
synchronized pip beep.
Yeah.
So what do you know? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
Oh no. You probably don't have time. I'm gonna have to like ask you. But like, I thought it was fun. Like with my turkey friends, we would like put together a list of like our ultimate crew. Have you ever like done that in your mind? We probably don't have time to talk about it. But the Doctor is mine, even though he's a hologram.
Well, people watching can leave anytime they want, so we can go on for 5 hours more if we want to.
I think that'd be fun to get your opinion on this stuff. But
what my dream starship would be?
Yeah, but it's like you'd have to write a list, and you should probably think about it. Stuff.
He doesn't need to think about it because he probably has one in his head and has had it for years.
The thing is that like my favorite captain will always be Sisko, but Janeway I feel like is also a really good, solid captain.
It's hard. It's hard to.
It's really hard. I just love Sisko because he chews on the scenery, and I think all captains should chew on scenery. That's a theater phrase for the people who overact. It's called.
You're drawing me in. You're drawing me in.
So it's like, but that's why I really adore Sisko, is because Sisko and Kirk are the two that just totally eat the scenery.
You got that personality.
And so I adore them both. And so when people ask me who my favorite captain is, Sisko's the one that's the grayest. So he was like in these areas where you're like, man, that's a tough place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think of In a Pale Moonlight, where Sisko does the whole thing to Vreenak, the Romulan senator, to try to pull the Romulans into the Dominion War. That whole episode is such an amazing episode. Or
it's
Rocks
so
and
good
Shoals. Rocks and Shoals, where he has to figure out a way to get the Vorta away from the Jem'Hadar on that planet so that they can fix the stolen Jem'Hadar ship. Those are great episodes showing that Sisko wasn't always presented with the best options. Picard always had like these perfect scenarios, and Sisko always had these messy, screwed up situations, and you're like, oh God, man, I'm so sorry.
I always like Sisko's snarkiness. Like even in the very first episode, there's that scene where Kira was like, "Oh, Federation officers don't get dirty," and what does he do? He picks up this big old pile of mess, tosses it to the side, and shows her his hands, and he's like, "They're dirty."
Yep.
And what a metaphor that will turn out to be later on.
Right. Jerry's bringing up other things about Kate Mulgrew. He's bringing up here, and of course John Delancey returning to Picard. So that's those are.
Yeah. So what I was going to ask you guys, what do you know about A Matter of Time? Because this is definitely the Star Trek Next Generation episode. A Matter of Time was written by Rick Berman specifically for Robin Williams.
Oh yes. So. And ended up not being Robin Williams. It ended up being the guy that played Max Headroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, apparently
I heard about that actually.
Yeah, apparently Robin Williams was a huge Star Trek fan and really wanted to be on an episode.
He did.
And I didn't realize that Eddie Murphy was originally going to be in one of the movies, but then ended up Voyage Home.
Yes.
And I didn't realize Eddie Murphy was a huge Star Trek fan.
Oh, yeah,
Those are two cases of people who really wanted to be in the franchise but didn't end up getting into it.
I hate to say this, but the way that Star Trek's filming structure is, and knowing Robin Williams, my mom worked with Robin Williams.
Your mom.
And knowing how Robin Williams is behind the scenes when the cameras are or on set, I can't imagine that they would be able to do it. And I say that not cruelly, but Robin was so good at improv that what he would do is he'd go on these improv things and everybody would be laughing. And then before you knew it, you'd run out of film in your camera and you'd have to reload the camera and you'd have to reset the scene and you'd lost 2 hours. And
Man.
Star Trek was so tight. They were filming an episode and they had to clear. And Next Gen was no different than TOS. TOS was really tight too. In fact, TOS has a number of things where, like the infamous kiss between Kirk and Uhura, that's Bill Shatner used that to his benefit because they were going to film that scene both ways, and then NBC was going to show it without Kirk kissing Uhura, and Bill Shatner knew that, so he blew every shot, every take.
I love that. Yeah, I love
and
that.
because they were so tight on time and they had to clear the set and start the next episode, they had to take it. There was no choice.
What a genius.
Yeah.
Creative genius.
I saw an interview with Robin Williams, and he talked about the differences between having to rein it in and not do his stuff, because like 1 hour photo, he's done a lot of really serious stuff.
1 hour photo. It was like one of the only movies that made me so uncomfortable. I had to turn it off. Like I had to come back.
It's disturbing, but he did his job as an actor, and so
it was amazing.
I think if he had the right director, he could have been on Star Trek. He just would have needed a director to say, "Hey, look, I'll let you know when you can do your thing. Otherwise, please stick to the script." And
right,
probably you're probably right. Although then it would have been one of those. Was it really Robin Williams on set? Like, I don't know. Maybe Whoopi Goldberg doesn't get to pull out any of her humor either when she's Guinan.
Right.
Although she did get to loosen up as time goes on. Like in Time's Arrow, she gets to do a lot of cute, if you're my father, if you're from my father, tell him I'm still not done learning things and listening, And she got to do a little bit more of her thing. One out of Insomnia. He was amazing in everything. He was a brilliant actor, and it's sad. It's a sad loss. So,
all right.
We've gone way over, guys.
13 minutes. We've done worse.
It's all right.
What happens when you talk about Star Trek? That's what happened. You put Star Trek nerds in a group. That's what happened.
You got Trekkies here. There's nothing you can do. Trekkies are Trekkies.
It was great.
It'll always be that way.
It was totally worth it.
That's right, Guy. You should get Bill on here for a Star Trek show.
Oh yeah.
Is he Is he from the role playing game?
No, he's Pepper's significant other.
Oh, okay.
Pepper's husband. Yeah, I don't know if he'd ever do that, but yeah, he. I mean, messages from Bill seems to be a thing. We have none.
Yeah.
So we do. I do my show every morning. For those of you who are, I do a 2-hour drawing show every morning, and some mornings Pepper joins me. Pepper is a fellow artist, and Pepper's husband is a Trekkie, and sits behind Pepper. So they sit in the same room. So when Pepper's on with me, he's just chatting with me and everything like this. But every so often, his husband will come over and like say something because I said something, and it like he has to say something. And so he does the Wilson from where what was that? Tool Time. Not Tool Time.
Yeah,
Tim
Allen.
Home Improvement.
He's from my state.
Right, he like comes over the little divider in the background and has to say things, and it's great. I love it. But he's a Trekkie too, so it ends up being Home Improvement. Thank you. But yeah, he ends up being he ends up being that. He always says things. It's very funny.
And then wisdom.
Yeah, words of wisdom, and Pepper goes, "Messages from Bill," like that every time. So he has his own theme music now. So there's that. So anyway, if you want to join me, that's every morning, 9 to 11 Mountain Time. We also broadcast that here on
Monday through Friday.
Monday through
You
Friday.
do it every weekday?
Every weekday.
I'm not
It's
a
still-
morning person, but like I can catch it sometimes. You're doing it every weekday?
Every
It's to keep
weekday.
his artist
Yeah,
chops up.
if I don't, I won't
Oh,
draw. And so it's really
That's
2 hours
cool.
of me drawing and talking to people. So you're keeping me
motivation
company
and
while I
stuff.
draw.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
I try to watch.
We'll
but
try
I miss
harder,
it 'cause
yeah.
I'm at work sometimes.
And sometimes, you come in here and you make comments and then you start an entire discussion.
Yeah, it's cool.
I love it. So everybody's
I'm
welcome
glad
to
to
come
hear.
in and just talk. So you can just talk to me. I'll be there.
It's like
So-
therapy, really.
It is. It's good for me because I at least will always get 2 hours of drawing in every day.
And it's cheaper than therapy.
Wow.
Yeah,
2
so
hours?
every day. Well,
That's
you know what they say, you have to have 10,000 hours to perfect something.
Really?
And if you do that 1 hour a day, that takes 17 years. But if you do that 8 hours a day, that only takes 4. So
Wow.
it's
Science.
a different thing. So, but 10,000 hours is the mastering level. So,
Unless you just suck at it. Some people can do their 10,000 hours and they're still
and
no good
still
at it.
just not get anywhere.
Just do your best.
There are days where I look at my artwork and I'm like, am I really improving? I don't think I'm improving. I don't think I'm getting better. Or I'll get things
You're your
like
worst critic.
Imagine FX and I'll be like, damn it, I don't draw like this. Why don't I draw like this?
You can't compare yourself. Yeah.
It's a skill level thing. This particular magazine came out and the artist that did that cover, she was talking about how she makes Clip Studio Paint do things, and I was like, oh, that's part of why, I'm like, now I know why my artwork doesn't look like it should. She's got tricks, so I've added her tricks to my little list of things to do. Like totally like, oh, that's how she does it. Well, right? I'm only 9,900 hours away right now. I'm telling you.
I enjoy drawing, but like I took it in high school, and I have like a sketchbook. I drew Lieutenant Commander Dana. Like,
That's
but
awesome.
I can't handle like the critiquing myself and stuff like that. And like I learned some theory. Like I've seen your stuff. You're really good, but I don't know if I can handle. You're welcome.
Well,
I don't know.
And I often say, I mean, my whole thing is I'm skilled, because as much as we're joking about me being, being only 100 hours into my 10,000 hours, truth is, I've been drawing since 1991, or probably closer to 1988. And if you look at my 1988 drawings versus today, in fact, I just did that. I will share the screen, because that always makes me feel a whole lot better when I do this. So here, let me share the screen.
My sister said my hair looks good. She did
I love
it.
her hair. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there we go. 1989 versus
Sorry,
today.
I was like, woohoo. Okay. Okay, let me see. All right. I got distracted. I'm sorry. What are you talking about?
This is
your.
Yeah, this is 1989 versus 2021. So
That's
if you want
cool.
to look at my actual growth, there's the actual growth. So
That's a fun
you can
concept.
see-
They should do that more like on, I don't know, like Facebook and stuff. I would love to see artists.
Looks like the
Like,
pandemic was
mhm.
exceptionally rough on her.
Yeah, the pandemic didn't do her any good.
Yeah.
She was fine before now.
Yeah.
That's
can
actually
relate.
funny. I modified that outfit, and then in my head when I was doing the drawings for the new outfit, I felt like Chang was annoyed with me for making her model, and so the pictures of her are like, kind of stuff. But then I put it next to the one that was previous, where Chang's all smiling
so
and everything,
cool.
and I'm like, now she looks like
Give yourself,
happy.
yeah. You get
So
to
is it
see
the-
your. Mhm.
Is it the Next Gen
Probably.
Technical Manual by Rick Steinbach? That was the one that really got you into drawing, wasn't it?
No, it was the Spaceflight Chronology.
Spaceflight Chronology. I was trying to remember which one it was.
The technical manuals were later. Yeah, I think Jerry's like, I like your hair, Brent. It's okay.
Come see my sister. She'll do your hair.
Yeah. There you go. I do like your hair though. It's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I got distracted because my sister has a special notification.
Yeah, you got like.
And you're talking about serious stuff, and I'm like, everyone, look at my hair. So,
it's all good.
Awesome. One of us has to be able to do it, and you're the only one. So go for it.
All right.
There you go. So, and thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
So yeah, 1979. So that's when that book came out. So Dad
got his first copy in, I want to say 84 or 85, and I started tracing all the ships in there because it's the history of Star Trek, from the space shuttle to the Enterprise, and that was what it was supposed to be, was this book that sort of did how we got to the Enterprise. Well, of course, I traced everything in there, and I actually destroyed his book, completely destroyed it. So he bought 2 more copies. One he kept, and then he gave me my own copy. I promptly destroyed my copy, and then started to destroy his new copy. But then I finally started because he was threatening me with my life and stuff like that. So it's it was a thing. But yeah, so recently we were at Comic-Con and Rick Sternbach was there. And I managed to get my dad's copy to Rick Sternbach, and he autographed it. But the copy is in really bad shape because I was copying everything out of it. And I was so dedicated to this. And he was like, "Are you sure you want me to autograph this one?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think you understand. This book means everything to me." Mm-hmm. So it's it means so much. So anyway, that's that. That's a copy of that. That's what we were talking about. There is Rick Sternbach Space.
That's cool. You just have that on hand. It was
it's actually back there on the shelf. So
yeah, I just grabbed it.
It better be.
Capture. Yeah, it's not in the sock drawer. That's for sure.
It's not in the sock drawer.
I just bought a technical manual from a record shop, and it's sweet. It's the pseudoscience, but there's a lot in it. It's really interesting.
Is it the Deep Space Nine or the TNG?
TNG. TNG is my jam. I love TNG. And it's it is kind of what are they? It's stereotypical. You like TNG and that's it. You're not a real nerd.
Yeah, it's
I get that a lot actually. I'm that show is solid. That show is great. It's one of the best shows in the world.
It's interesting how, those are called gatekeepers, and I really have a problem with them. I like all Star Trek. Except for that one movie that we won't be spoken.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that movie. But other than that, I like all of the Star Treks.
Was it this one, Joan?
Yeah, that's it.
I actually just saw this one at the Goodwill today, and
it's legit. I think I paid $10 for it at a record store. It's in good condition. It's fun
Jason,
to page through. It's got photos and blueprints and stuff.
Because to me, I'm sitting there going, it doesn't matter. Joan and I are Trekkies. I'm okay with that. If Joan's only seen TNG, that's still cool.
Right. Well, no, I've seen a lot.
We're still buddies, man. We're still family. You know what I mean?
Oh, thanks, man.
And that's the way
I have seen 10 episodes of Enterprise probably, and you accept that.
Yeah, it's all good.
I haven't seen Lower Decks yet. I think Troy sent me the link, and I watched.
Lower Decks.
I watched a little.
What are you doing?
Love it. How do you know I'll love it?
What are you doing after the show?
Yeah, right.
Can you stick around and watch an episode? We'll show you one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that
we just can't show it to you on Facebook because we don't have the rights to it. But if it's a private room, then we can show you an episode.
Yep.
Yeah. Super
after the show's
secret.
over, we can run an episode because you'll love it. The Lower Decks is by far the best first season.
I remember you talking about it. You guys were talking about it fervently. You were
yeah,
it does sound great. And you didn't spoil anything for me. You guys did a good job.
No, we do.
No.
Now, the actress that plays Mariner, Tawny Newsome, is the host of the Pod Directive, which is the new official Star Trek podcast. And she is a riot in and of herself because actually she is more of a Trekkie than Mariner is. And so she constantly has to talk about the fact that she had to pull back because she knows more about the universe than Mariner knows. And so it's funny that her character isn't, and her character makes a lot of references and things like that. And so she's like way past her character's Trekkiedom. And she thinks that's pretty funny too. So, but yeah, gatekeepers shouldn't be a thing. I feel like
challenging your legitimacy, like let people enjoy things. There's some.
And it's every time anything's posted with Discovery or Picard, you always have to have the 12 people that say they hate it and yada 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 and go on forever about all the things that suck about this or whatever. It's like, you know what? It's okay. Don't post. Don't watch. If you don't like Discovery, don't watch it. There's no problem with that.
Right.
And
why do you gotta talk why do you gotta talk crap? Like the people who talk crap are the loudest.
Why do you gotta rain on my parade?
The first time
I love Discovery. I love Picard. I love them all.
The first time I saw the gatekeeping thing was back in Geek Tank's infancy. We had just formed. It was like 2013, I think it was. And we were there with, it was Guy, myself, and our official cosplay person was Lily. Lilitron, I think is her cosplay. And she was dressed as, if I remember correctly, Daenerys from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I was like packing the camera and about 10 feet away from her. She was doing her thing. I was talking to someone else. And I hear over my shoulder these two guys like quizzing her like a trivia game on Game of Thrones. Like, who's your favorite character?
Yeah.
What'd you think of this character? So what happened when this character did this thing? And they knew the answers. They were just testing her to see if she was like a mega fan. And and she was like, mopping the floor with them because, she is a mega fan. Not that doesn't matter. That's beside the point, though. They shouldn't care what level of her expertise is. They should let her enjoy her fandom.
Somebody I knew dress up. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, you're not. Interrupt us, please.
That's the same thing that Bill says whenever Bill gets up there. He's like, "I'm not as much of a fan as you are," and I'm like, "Doesn't matter, bro.
I have that. I
We're
have
all family."
Right, I'm like good. A little bit. I'm a little intimidated by, Guy, but like that's cool. You're like, you're cool about it. But I actually know.
Would you wear a communicator? To be fair, would you wear a communicator?
I
like
have
on your
worn
clothes?
A communicator.
Then we're a family. There you go.
Yeah.
Just get it installed into.
That's a good way to
phone there, Guy.
I was actually on a Facebook group that we did our com badge selfies or whatever, and it was like a shameless way to promote selfies, but it was like check out mine, and it was that community sense. Yeah.
I mean, and even that is, I'm just being silly, but I mean the truth is, if you love Star Trek and you consider yourself a Trekkie, then we're fam. It's all good.
Right.
And there
actually
shouldn't be gateways.
Right, I agree. Why is there gateways? Why are people telling me I can't pass? I don't understand that.
Yeah, right.
I actually have a friend who does cosplay, and she dressed up like Zelda, but she never actually played a game or learned a lot of the mythos. But she looked amazing. She put a lot of craftsmanship into it. She enjoys the art style and some of the storyline. You don't have if you don't play video games, you can still enjoy something. And it was she was getting a lot of backlash for that. And I was like, I even stood up for her in comments. I was like she has the right to enjoy a fandom and not consume all the media.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's no reason to tell people that they can't enjoy a show. And I really, somebody was saying this in the Starfleet Battles forum, because I'm a big Starfleet Battles fan. And Troy and I are the only people on this planet that will play it now because it's so complex. But that's okay.
Awesome.
I still love it, and it will always be one of my favorite things. But there was a Facebook group, and they were talking about people who will shame new players who come into Starfleet Battles. And they were saying, why would you do that? We literally have 12 people on the planet that play this game anymore, and we're losing them fast. Why would you push people out? That was the same thing I thought. In the 80s, girls were discouraged from being geeks. They were pushed out of the fandom. And so when we would get a geek girl in our group would start gatekeeping her. And I would sit there and go, dude, we finally have a girl in our group. Why are you pushing her out? And I don't understand it. That never made sense to me.
Every fan starts somewhere. If you have to be an expert coming into it, you're never going to get anybody into it because you can't start an expert. You have to start and be drawn into it. Even if it is I've never played this video game, but I think the costume looks cool, therefore I made the costume. The correct response would be, oh, cool, here, let me loan you the video game if you feel like playing it. Give it a shot.
Right.
If you want to give it a shot. Can you mine some rupees for me? You jerk.
I mean, like
how about you smash some pots for my friend here
Russia.
while she gets her picture taken and notoriety for her talents? You jerk. Go get me some rupees.
Gatekeeping is a horrible blight on fandom. It really is. People shouldn't be.
How do we get them? How do we stop this problem? We need social change.
Negan.
Well, yeah,
Negan gets stuff done. Yeah, they get stuff done.
So, but I mean, that's a thing. That's like, and that's another thing. It's like I've got this memory for things, so I sound like a major like Walking Dead. Well, I liked Walking Dead a lot, but I do know that Negan's bat's called Lucille. And that makes it sort of like, whoa, are you a super fan? No, not really. I didn't really actually.
Wait.
What kind of shoes did he wear?
It gets better than this. Watch this trick. It's like a party trick. Hey, guy, what episode of Star Trek was Negan in?
See, now that's so the actor that played Negan,
Jeffrey Dean Morgan,
played an alien in one of his early career things. He played an alien, heavy prosthetics, super heavy prosthetics. It almost pushed him right out of acting. He almost didn't want to do it because he was doing that, and so it was like that's actually
he's claustrophobic.
He's claustrophobic. Yeah. The actor's claustrophobic, and here he is in this heavy prosthetics. And he wasn't even playing one of the standard aliens. He was playing one of the ones that are all rubber, the whole
all
thing.
The time.
Because he was playing in Enterprise. He was playing one of the Zendies, and so he was playing a Zendi reptiloid. So it was in third season during the Zendi arc, which I sit there and go, but he was playing a reptiloid, and that's a huge face mask. Yeah, I know, it's like a parlor trick to make me start saying these things.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, Jeffrey Dean Anderson almost Jeffrey Dean Morgan almost just bombed right out because of that.
Yeah, it's like maybe acting's not for me if this is what acting is.
Yeah, and because it's Zendi arc, you actually have me at a slight disadvantage because I've only seen the Zendi arc.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but you knew way more than I think a lot of people would have known.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't like the Zendi arc a whole lot. And that's actually another thing. It's like gatekeeping, even with the Trekkies, is ridiculous because, like, for me, I accept all of Discovery. It's wonderful.
Why do they do it?
But I'm not watching the Zendi arc again, if that's okay with you people. You know what I mean? It's
I'd rather not.
Right? I just don't like the Zendi arc. And it's okay. A lot of people love the Zendi arc. It was a great
I don't like the Neelix arc.
Right? I mean, like, you don't like Neelix, but I find him okay. I didn't find him that annoying. I was okay with him. He felt a little creepy in the beginning when he was doing the Okampa thing with Tess, but he evolved into a better character. And I like the way they had him play off of Tuvok.
He likes to cook.
Yeah, but I like the way he played off of Tuvok later on. They did a good job of making him, although he was ridiculously racist, but that's all right. Nobody thinks about that because,
Jerry has suggested we go another 30 minutes. I think we've met our obligation to Jerry now.
Yeah. Right? You're welcome, Jerry. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, there we go. For your birthday, we went long. There you go. Just for you. So, yeah, that's one of those things. Oh, we're coming up on one of my favorite holidays tomorrow. Tomorrow is Moon Day, guys. It's Moon Day. don't think it's not Moon Day.
Mhm.
We just had
You need
Picard's
to-
birthday.
That should be a
have you seen-
national holiday, and the fact that it isn't offends me every year. But that's
I don't
the
know
way
what you're
it goes.
talking about. Moon, it's the
Tuvix.
moon?
Yeah, Moon,
Oh man,
we're in
Tuvix.
NASA universe for Moon Day.
So tomorrow is the anniversary of the landing of Apollo 11 on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
July 20th,
know what that is.
1969. So it's
Okay.
Moon Day, and I
Moon
think it should be a
Day.
national holiday. Personally, I think it should be.
Mhm.
It's the
I
moment
back that up.
when the humans on this planet landed on another body of space, and I'm like,
And even
oh,
the
yeah.
historical, social, like,
Don't
effect
forget-
of it.
And don't forget,
And-
Guy Bezos is flying tomorrow too.
Yeah, I know he is. And
Yeah.
Jerry is in the right place for Moon Day, man.
Mhm.
You're down there in Houston. Tomorrow, you should go to Johnson Space Center and just go like hang out with the Saturn V.
Hey, guy, we
I
need
go
to add
there
a new
all
tradition to Moon
the
Day.
time.
We need to add getting moon pies for Moon Day.
Ooh,
I want to do that.
I wish I'd thought of that. I would have had it for tomorrow's show, tomorrow morning.
It's almost tomorrow here.
Hey, the grocery store's still open.
That's true.
Yeah.
Although I've been trying to get to bed by 10 o'clock and just try to not stay up until 4 in the morning because that's a bad habit I got into.
How's that going for you?
Actually, very good since last week. I'm just saying. So yeah. Well, good. If you're going to be down there in the Bay Area, especially, if you're going to be in Baytown and that kind of area, that's not bad. Just NASA Road 1, man. I-45 to NASA Road 1.
Did
And
they
then all
do
you have
special
to do
stuff
is-
there on that day? Did they do special
I
stuff?
don't know. I don't know if they're going to do anything special, but I mean, they usually at least acknowledge it.
They should make it like Mardi Gras and throw out like beads made out of moon rocks and stuff.
Oh yeah, because that's not
And
the most expensive bead
instead
ever.
of flashing though, you got to moon people for the beads
Right.
since it's Moon Day.
No.
You know, if it's made of moon rocks, I'd moon people for that. I'm just saying.
Mhm.
I'm just saying. But yeah, if you're down there by Johnson, man, NASA Road 1. Take a left at the T-38. So
I'd like to thank our guests, Brent and Joan each.
thanks, Brent. Thanks, Joan.
Yeah.
Appreciate having you guys here.
You know,
Thanks for having me. I had
and
fun.
stick around
Yeah.
after our ending credits, and we'll watch an episode of Lower Decks.
Yep.
Wait, are we doing
Yep.
that live? Wait, you can't do that live.
We're not doing
No,
a lot of live, but
we'll
you'll
just-
stay with us. And
It'll
we'll
just
do it
be
here.
us.
Well, write him a letter. Can we write him a letter?
Jerry, I've got pictures of my kid and me at that McDonald's. I'm just saying. I know exactly what
Aw.
McDonald's you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's a great McDonald's. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jerry, for joining us. Thank you, Jason. We've had a lot of people on the show today. I'm very
Oh, that's my
pleased.
brother.
Yeah, and we
Yay.
had a lot of people. Craig here and Jason and Kyle earlier on was talking as well, and
Craig
Jared.
used to watch
So-
with me. Craig used to watch with me a while ago. He talked a little
Oh,
bit.
Nice.
Yeah.
that's good. I'm glad to have you in the motor pool. Then thank you for joining us, and that's all the time we're going to have for today. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Until then, I've been Guy,
I've been Troy.
and
That's
this
Joan.
is and you've been
Ooh,
Joan
That's
and
Brent.
Brent, go Brent,
I'm Brent.
and this is Geek Tank.